Hi, and welcome to another episode of NORDFY Talks. Today we are meeting with Eliana Nigro. She is the head of computational design at Cobe. Eliana spends the days between the professional practice and education. She's passionate about technology, and recently she has been focusing on how AI could be an integrant part of the design exploration. And overall, she is quite cheerful and very nice person to talk to. So we had a very pleasant conversation. I hope you enjoy. Let's go.
Hi, my name is Eliana Nigro. I'm the head of computational design at Cobe, and this is my NORDFY talk.
Hi, Eliana.
Hi.
Welcome. I would like to start by asking you the usual question, which is what is the work that you do and where, and what is exciting about this work?
Okay, that's like the easy question. So I'm an architect who's really passionate about technology. So at Cobe, where I work, I'm the head of computational design, and this is a role that really allows me to blend, this love for creativity with the power of technology. And what you said, like what excites me about my work is a really computational method because they have this endless potential. So I see it as this sort of secret weapon that can really help us to meet critical design deadlines with superior quality outcomes. And the way I do it is by streamlining our workflows. So, for example, cutting away all those repetitive tasks that don't require, humans. And even more importantly, with a very well thought design strategy. So we always extract data and we make sure to, include them into our consideration and design iterations. On the side, I'm also an educator, and education has been always a very relevant part of my life. I started when I was very, very young, and I really like it. It means a lot for me to share my knowledge and to think that I can have some sort of positive impact on students, whether it is in a university classroom or in an online workshop.
Okay, so let's start by the topic of education. Maybe start questioning what are the competences that you think differentiates you, and it can be an add-on, a value that you can contribute to your pupils, your students. How do you see these competences making a great difference?
Okay, well, I think for sure it's a blend. It's a blend of various factors that shaped my path, led me where I am, and somehow helped me into the field of education. And the boring answer for sure is, the academic knowledge, the technical expertise, because that is a solid foundation for developing like innovative workflows and tools and strategies. And yeah, as we were also talking about during the webinar, the reality is that our industry is changing quite a lot. So what helps me is also being very, adaptable and curious and make a commitment to continuous learning. So I really wanna always upgrade my skills. This is also very important, to always deliver the best to your students, to be a student yourself. Yeah. And I think also being involved in academics has helped because I am delivering lectures, authoring articles, and somehow the fact that I have some insights on this cutting edge research, it just gives me an opportunity to have some new insights for my sharings. And in general, what helps is also my, the fact that I think that the knowledge is just meant to be shared, and we shouldn't just design great buildings, but we should equip the others with the skills to do the same.
So that's perhaps the answer to when you mention about upgrading your skills and be a student yourself. So that's probably why you have decided to spend your time between academia and the professional practice,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
You didn't choose one or the other.
No.
Is there a particular reason over there beyond being up to date, as you said, or how does this transition happen? Because I think you have mentioned before that you started in the academia.
I actually started when to teach and to help other people. I think during high school, because some teachers would ask me to help the other students. So I don't know, it's something, it was really like fun for me, and also, I value creating these meaningful connections, and I don't know, it has like some special meaning, and it's gratifying to think that you can have some sort of even small positive impact on someone's, I don't want to say life, that's too big, but career. Yeah.
So continuing on the topic of education, do you see the need, or do you consider the right path to go for younger generation of designers to somehow go back to that approach of having an academic life and a professional practice? Because it seems to me that this relationship has been lost in the last I don't know, maybe 30 years. So you either stay in the academia or you are at a commercial practice, and there's actually very few that stay still with a leg in each side. So do you think this is the way to go, or this is just a personal choice that not necessarily is that impactful?
I have to say, I think to educate, you need to have some like specific ability. So I think you can agree with me, it's not just about relying the information. So I think that even if a professional is brilliant or like awesome in a specific field, it doesn't mean that he has like those skills yet that can help him into teach effectively. So my feeling is that a great professional is not necessarily a great educator. So there is like also quite like a long work to do around maybe soft skills and how to be clear and simple. But I always admire those professionals who want to share their knowledge, especially with the people on the team or within the organization, because it can help the company to grow. But when I look on the other side in academia, well, especially for practical courses, I think we shouldn't settle for those teachers who don't have any meaningful experience in that subject matter, because to give an holistic learning experience yourself, you have to blend that theory with the real world application. So I think it is crucial to make sure to prepare the students for the industry roles. So
absolutely.
I think it's the best when a person is able to belong to both worlds and somehow push innovation into both.
So we're talking about education, but education is changing. So I would like to ask you, what are your considerations if you had to judge or add what are the value that you can see in long-term educations through, let's say, universities, in-person education, versus, for example, shorter clusters of knowledge that you can deliver online to perhaps a more limited audience? How do you put this? Is it apples to apples, or one compensates the other? How do you see it?
I think I really enjoy both, and for different reasons. And when we are online, even with the larger groups, and we are or we are in a university, there are like different scenarios and many different things to consider that are happening, and they are in some ways both really beautiful and exciting. So when I'm in the room with the students at the university, what is happening is that I pay a lot of attention on the body language. So I try to sense what is the level of engagement, so I can play with the students' reactions, and I really like that challenge. I also like that we might go for a coffee break, so something very spontaneous and casual, and they can tell me their stories and what, I don't know, their dreams or ambitions are. So you created that sort of intimacy that is very precious for all the following knowledge sharings, because then they just, they feel more comfortable into asking questions. However, and I think you know that I'm also a very down-to-earth person, and I think this comes across quite strongly, even online, because during even workshops with a lot of students, I'm talking about 50, 60 students, I've been having several of them then, reaching me out on social media, looking for like tips and tricks or like career advices, and I've been also having the pleasure of just mentoring these people that I met online. So online workshops, I think, are fantastic because, flexibility of time and location, like it's still, I don't know, somehow blows my mind that you get all these people from all over the world joining and bringing in their cultural background, and somehow that is spicing up the conversation in an unexpected way. It's very rich, it's very diverse, it's inclusive, it's accessible. It's accessible because even if you're not enrolled in an academic program, you can participate. And more than that, we are always targeting with online workshops very specific niche topics that you might not find in a university. So it is perfect for the lifelong learners. So, tracing back to the commitment to continuous education, I think it's very important. I really value that. And when it's with the smaller groups, then it's somehow also giving me the opportunity to understand what the weakness, the strengths are, and tailor the course truly according to their needs.
Have you ever thought about what's your dream scenario as an educator? What can be better?
You know that I'm quite an ambitious person, and I'm dreaming always very big. Recently I learned this term is manifesting, and I think that resonates with my personality quite a lot. So for example, at the end of every year, I just sit down and think of those meaningful and happy moments, and then I write them down, and I have this positive feeling, and then I manifest my goals. And among the goals for real, and among the goals for education is making computational design much more accessible. So I want to break down barriers and the stereotypes and make sure that people understand that it is not just for a few experts. It is really benefiting everyone that participate to it and is up to use the tools. Yeah, I'm very committed to that. And if I have to dream, in terms of being an educator, of course, I wish that my students will become these innovative thinkers that use technology, so that knowledge, to change the real world of architecture. I think that is something that really matters to me. And another thing that then is exciting, I think, is also the way, the path, because I get many moments where they are just oh yeah, I grasped a concept, or I understood its potential, and that is also a moment that is very is meaningful to me. So that is rewarding. Is rewarding, and my dream is to get more and more of these moments in the future.
Yeah. Maybe you can tell us a little bit what is your role about, and what are you bringing to the table? What kind of strategies? How much is that work being integrated into the practice?
Yeah.
Because I think that's also something interesting to know. how much of that knowledge and theory gets applied?
I think what helped me into contributing into bringing, more data-driven design solutions at Cobe is the fact that I'm an educator, so I'm explaining in a very simple manner and quite accessible for everyone. So very different audiences, complex computational concepts, and how these data-driven solutions are actually helping us into meeting our broader vision in the field of architecture. So I do quite a lot of communication with the office meetings or one-to-one when I'm on a team, and I share knowledge and I share tools, and then I make sure that the person feels like not only aware but also comfortable and have trust into the process, so they can come with new ideas. Even having a different background, to me it's like even more interesting because they can truly tell me what could help them to improve their daily workflow. So I think at the office we try in many different ways to bring these methods into the daily practice, and it's not only about the data-driven design and shaping the building and seeing all the different data, but it's also about solving the daily small issues that you might have while you are performing a certain task.
Yeah, I mean, in of course, in other occasions, in other workshops and webinars that you have been, or we have been, it was very visual. We could see some examples, but maybe could you try to put like an example of something that you have been doing or that have contributed to maybe change the approach of the project, or perhaps it enhanced the design in a way you were not expecting? Is there something that you can share?
Yeah, I think there are also a few things that repeat over and over. So I'll call this Project X because this is really a scenario that well explains what we do. And if we trace back to the data-driven strategy, I think it's quite a good example, because when, let's say, we approach a project, we study not only like the data to respond to the brief, but also data that are meaningful to us, like, for example, how the building is performing under different conditions. So especially with large urban projects, it is very important also to be mindful of what is happening, what kind of social spaces we are creating. And I don't know, we do quite a lot of simulations. Doing the simulation, we can understand the outcome, take consideration, iterate the design, and when we iterate the design, we somehow have on the side all those objective data, and it is much easier to have consensus when you look at that, when you remove the guesswork from the equation. So usually what is happening is that these data are very important, especially when we sit as a team or with the client, to just embrace what is the best for our project, what can really give the positive outcome in that case.
So what about the competences and skill sets? We talked about this a few months ago. So maybe could you give us your opinion on what kind of competences young designers, and maybe not so young designers, should start embracing, or you see that are relevant to keep pushing the boundaries of what is possible in design exploration?
But I'll definitely stand with what I said during our webinar on disruptive technologies, because yes, as a computational designer, I think that technical skills are really important. It's like having the right tools in your toolbox, and you cannot fully express yourself and your creativity if you don't know how to use them properly. At the same time, our industry is changing. Like, we are experimenting quite an acceleration of all the tech developments, and AI is definitely like modifying our toolbox, and it is very hard to say what should be into it at the moment. So what I recommend is to stay curious and to try to adapt as much as possible to these new methodologies. But what we already know is that AI is giving us solutions, options. So we know that we will have the ones to take the decision. So to make sure that it's a meaningful one, we have to have some sort of guiding stars, and those stars to me is like the value, the morality. So this is very important to focus on at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, so before we dive into specific topics of AI, what is the future telling you? What are you looking into right now?
Okay, so I'm actually looking into many different areas of development, both in the practice and with academia. And on one side, again, as a computational designer, I'm very interested into bringing the AI power into my simulations. But on the other side, as a creative, I am interested in many other things. And what at the moment is very hyped and is very cool and fun is AI text-to-image technology. And quite soon you will see like a few articles and conferences are going to come out, because I'm doing quite a lot of study around it. I think it's a very powerful and versatile tool, and it's not just about making these pretty images that are highly realistic, but it can really improve the communication. So think of having, your teammates or stakeholders into the room. Everyone is having a very different visual literacy, so they might not be able to express, their ideas with a sketch or with, a rendering. So AI text-to-image is helping us, because right now you can communicate with the machine in a different way. You're typing, you're not using the mouse anymore. So it is a very different relationship. So what is happening is that you can translate all those talks, those ideas, the dialogue into a prompt, and then you are getting, some images to talk about. So of course, sometimes they can be controversial, sometimes they are not the best, but they are also pointing out the direction you don't want to go for. So it really makes the discussion much more dynamic, very bright, very positive. Anyway, it's giving us the opportunity to amplify our visual references. So we don't only take inspiration from, the past or our own designs, but we have the opportunity to write down what is meaningful and important in the brief, and what is our vision for the project, and somehow that blend brings us to customized references that we can look at. So it can be quite interesting at the very beginning of the design process.
So now I want to perhaps pick up on two topics that you just mentioned. So you're talking about text to image, but as a computational designer, the whole point of predictability of the tasks and supporting in making this flow, this dynamic flow of creativity translated into sculpture. How do you see this development? Is something that you're looking into, or now it's more into the text to image part?
No. As I said at the beginning, as a computational designer, I want to use AI power, and I'm already looking into that. So what I believe it's going to happen in the future is that we are going to have maybe new softwares, much more intuitive, that can run all those simulations. And I'm talking about not only environment or carbon footprint, but also user behavior, preferences, and so on. They can analyze a very vast data set in a very short time. And I'm looking forward to that moment, because then you will have also the opportunity to front load all those information, as they are going to drive the project even more. We already do it at the moment, but it's going to be even stronger. And with this new platforms that are so accessible. I can also imagine having, different specialities. So all the teammates, all the, people that are like sitting in different parts of the world and transition from the early phases of design to the others in a very smooth way. So remove all those problems related to interoperability. So cut also a lot of time and costs related to that, because now it is actually
integrated.
Also, it's important to integrate the workflows. It's something that we already do now. We focus on. I'm just thinking that in the future everything is gonna like come together in a new synergy. So us as architects, we are gonna have really the opportunity to focus on the strategic, the creative part of our work, and even more important, as we were saying, on the ethics, and understand what the user preferences are, and all those cultural, ethical implications that AI cannot be sensitive about.
So talking about being sensitive about and cultural backgrounds, when you're talking about exploring text to image, and now we have a broader palette of options, don't you fear some kind of homogenic results, something that becomes a little bit more like pastel colors all over the spectrum of options, and design starting to look very much alike? Or you actually think it's going to be contributing to a more diverse outcome, because people will be using the technology and the options in different ways?
No, I don't think it's gonna blend our creative thoughts. Instead, because already at the moment I run a lot of simulations as well as other computational designer. It doesn't mean that the data, even if I do generative design, is like providing me options that respond to my rules. So what I feel is that, as I said before, as a designer, you are gonna have more time to just focus on what is the vision that you have for that project. So you're gonna maybe establish parameters that are intangible, that maybe don't respond to other companies, and those are gonna be also the keys that you use into scrolling among those options and understanding which one is responding to your vision of social interaction, or I think having our time free from those simulations, it actually helps us to have more opportunities to go back, to maybe understanding what morality and what architecture is for us.
Yeah, and I also think that that the more, of course, right now some of the criticism is very much based on this, let's call it, generic model that are out there for anyone to use. But in time, you have a more customized set of models that belongs to you or to this other office and so on. So it's going to be a more, I hope, a more customized output.
You are talking about maybe the images.
Yeah, I'm talking about all results in general, but also from an image standpoint.
For the images, I believe at the moment it's true that there is quite a few of aspects that repeat each other. But I think it's also about pushing the prompt and really trying to find the words that respond to the design you are looking for. So I don't know, but there is the risk. It is scary. Of course, it's having this power in our hands. It's also a huge responsibility.
There's no movements anymore. You can't really say that you are in the modernism. It's everything is kind of contemporary design, but people are copying each other. So the developer can just go okay, I want the building in the style of Bjarke Ingels. Boom.
Now
so
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's true that you can copy. You can copy much more and in an easy way. This I agree on. But the original office, I think.
The original office?
Yeah. If you think of, I wanna work like Zadid in a way, Zadid buildings, and it's a thing that now is happening quite a lot. You see a lot of images that look like that, but I think I hope the original office is also gonna invent itself and have a truly those values that were moving them towards that design and shaping it, that can make them maybe stronger, or make that kind of language evolve into something else. So improve.
So I mean, we are starting to get closer to the end. There's still a couple of topics on, let's call it, on the future, which is always difficult to nail. But so what do you think, in your opinion, from where you're standing, what is the next frontier? Where is it, maybe on a professional level, from a company standpoint, or just generic from a technological standpoint? What do you think it's the next level that's around the corner?
Yeah, talking about the future, I feel I gave you already quite a few insights of what I think. And the key is going to be in the future not to see AI just as an assistant, but really as a design partner. Because I think what is happening at the moment is that even if in the past we would think that AI can just perform tasks that humans can do, it is instead giving us a new power. It is really an extension of our brain, so we can embrace, I feel, much more than we do now, for sure, the power of AI. And in this sense, AI is gonna but as I said before, I think it's gonna help us to have a much clearer overview of the real impacts of the project in the world. But at the same time, again, as humans, we are the ones that need even more in the future to pay attention to emotions, needs, to have these ethically sound spaces.
So in that light, with all this computational power and AI tools becoming more and more available, what is and you being the educator, what would be your advice for students, those that just enrolled, for example, with academia, but also perhaps young professionals that just started their career and still have 30, 40 years ahead of them?
Okay, so I think that for all of us, there is a very bright future, because AI is actually giving us much more possibilities to shine, to make a positive impact, to reduce all the missteps and so on. So it is an exciting moment to be in, but it is also quite overwhelming, because you get always new tools and new softwares coming out. It can be quite confusing, and since this technology is going with exponential speed, and the scientists even say double exponential speed, as humans, it's very hard to keep up. So what I recommend to people is, even if you don't have the opportunity to test out all the softwares, but try to understand the methodologies, try to stay curious, to be adaptable, and to, just not focus on the traditional way of doing things, because what is unconventional at the moment, it will quite for sure be the future that we are going to experience in the near years. And I think I'll repeat this because it's very important. We know that AI is going to give us many different possibilities, and it's going to give us a lot of data. So it is important that we start to be able to read those data properly, understand their meaning, and especially what it means when we come to the reality, and if it's enriching people's life, if it's positive in terms of the community that we are generating, or in which we are working in. So I recommend to these young people to start to work on their vision in the field of architecture.
Okay, that's actually a good segue for my last question, which would be the crystal ball. So that future, as a designer, and I'm specifically picking up the word designer, not architect. So what would you say you will be doing in 10 years' time? Are you designing buildings? Where's Eliana, the designer, the architect, be doing with all this technology in front of you?
I think it's exciting because I like simulations, and I like trying to find the optimal solution. So I think I will be having a lot of fun, and I also think there will be space also for the developers to do machine learning and so on. So machine learning is something that I could see myself doing much more in the future, and I don't know, I think that is going to help me to generate designs in very different ways. So I'm very curious to know what is exactly the way that I'm gonna maybe code in the future. I don't know, but it's to me it's a very fun scenario.
A fun toolbox to have to deliver something unique and different.
I'm always searching for new things to learn and do. So to me is quite exciting to think that maybe the toolbox is gonna enlarge quite a lot with the things that we cannot even predict now.
Okay, Eliana, it was a pleasure talking to you. Always super happy, good vibes talking to you, and let's catch up maybe in a year time to know what's going on and how is it going. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.